Welcome to the Owning Your Sexual Self podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Main, awesome wife and dog mom for life. I'm a sex therapist turned sex coach, and I run a successful business selling relationship enhancement products. I absolutely love talking about all things sex. So you can expect this podcast to explore all things related to women's sexual health because that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you discover and embrace what brings you pleasure so that you can own your sexual self. If that sounds good to you, then keep listening and let's fucking do this. Hello, friends. Welcome back. Happy Halloween if you are listening to this in real time, the day that the podcast launched. And if you're not, that's okay too. This topic, if you saw the title of this episode, Energy Vampires, this has been something that I've had slated for quite some time. I read a book. Gosh, this had to have been all the way back in maybe April-ish. No, it had to have been after April. Over the summer. Let's just say over the summer. And the book is called Own Your Energy. Own Your Energy. Develop immunity to toxic energy and preserve your authentic life force. And it is by world-renowned energy healer Alla. I'm going to butcher the last name, but it's Alla is the first name. Svirinskaya, maybe? Svirinskaya is the last name. Alla is a Russian energy healer who is the talk of three coasts, Hollywood, New York, and London. And that was quoted by Vogue magazine. This book was recommended to me by my energy mentor, I guess I can call her, Maria Sellers. She was on the podcast a few episodes ago. She was the woman that gave me my level 1 Reiki training, and this book came up in that training. And so when I was reading through this, actually I listened to it on Audible, but as soon as I got to this section of the book, when it was talking about energy vampires, I was like, I definitely want to record a podcast on this, which means I'm going to need the printed version of this so that I can have it as a resource as I'm recording this podcast. And I thought, you know what? How about like Monday? Halloween falls on a Monday this year. Why don't I release this on Halloween? And it just falls so perfectly in a line. Like, you guys have heard me talking about my sort of this spiritual journey that I've been on, and I've been talking about my mushroom journey and psilocybin and psychedelics and stuff in the last few episodes. And so I thought that this episode would just go quite nicely and maybe give you a little bit of break from some of the sexuality stuff. Although your energy and your sexuality are so closely connected. As you've heard me say before, your brain is your number one sex organ. So if that is not turned on, your genitalia is not turned on. And that is both, that is for all genders. And so the idea of talking through these energy vampires, and this is really, again, this is going to be for people that are already into the woo setting, or maybe you're curious about this. Maybe you've heard of people talking about, your aura and really like this auric fungi that can happen. And the way that it talks about in this book, I remember it talks about, when you go to bed at night, you make sure, this is our routine, right? Like, go to bed at night, we make sure that the back sliding door is locked. We make sure that the front door is locked. We double lock the front door for whatever reason. I swear we live in like one of the safest neighborhoods in our county, if not the safest neighborhood in our county, actually. Besides the point, I still like to be careful, make sure the cars are locked, all that good stuff. And we make sure that the fan is on. We sometimes turn our humidifier on that has our essential oils going. We turn off the lights, we make sure the pantry is closed so the dogs don't get into the garbage at night. We do all of these things before we go to bed. But when you're thinking about you as a person, right? You do all these things to your house and your environment to really make sure that you're safe. But what we overlook is the things that have happened throughout our day that have really attached on to our auric system. And thinking about this, like thinking about your day to day, even no matter what time of day you're listening to this podcast, what may have already happened in your day that just caused you like that little like ugh, like ick, that ick feeling or that frustration feeling or that eye rolling feeling. Maybe you got an email that came through that you didn't really care for, or maybe somebody at work already said something in the wrong way to you. Maybe you got cut off in traffic, whatever it is, those are all examples. These can be all examples rather of energy vampires. So essentially, energy vampires are the people who feed off of the energy of others in a parasitic way. Sometimes energy vampires are attracted into our lives by blocks that we might place on that mental layer of our aura. Like, for example, when we don't feel comfortable and at ease with whatever we've achieved or acquired. Our guilt about this draws those parasites into our lives as a way of us managing our fear of abundance or success. And in some cases, we'll have to work with affirmations or even see a psychologist to help us remove these mental blocks and get through these limiting thought patterns. So, I wanted to record this episode both for us to be able to do a mental sort of overall life check within ourselves and our own behaviors, but also to help you identify people in your life that may also be energy vampires. And I want to go with saying that when I was listening to this book again over the summertime, I at first was like, oh yeah, that's so and so. Ooh, this is so and so. And I found myself going into this finger pointing state. And then I came across one of the types of energy vampires, which I'm going to go through with you. And I was like, oh, fuck, that is me. Like, that is me. That is how I show up in, this relationship or this friendship. So, again, there's two sides of this. Like, I want you to essentially not do what I did at first, which was that finger pointing, that blaming, like, ooh, this is you labeling of other people. Yes, that might happen, but using it in a way that is more so for your awareness so that you can help manage that. You can check yourself or check the situation better when these things happen in the future, because the reality is that they're going to happen, right? We are all human, and based on this, we are also all vampires. But we make mistakes, and oftentimes we don't mean to be those energy suckers. And it still happens, and that's okay. So here is some questions that it goes through again in this book that can help you ask yourself, are you an energy vampire? So, and you can answer these to yourself in just a yes or no form. So, do people avoid making eye contact with you? Are you self centered and believe that your opinions are facts? And do you continually need to be complimented or reassured? Are you often negative, or do you like to talk about scary scenarios and outcomes? Do you gossip about or badmouth people? Is it difficult for you to be alone? And do you constantly surround yourself with people or have to be in a crowd? Do you like to create drama or pick fights and start arguments? Do you corner people and regale them with your life story or tell strangers about your misfortunes? Do you always ask for advice but never follow it? And do you tend to undermine other people's boundaries? Do you tend to induce guilt in other people and use it as a way of manipulating them? Are you very stubborn while expecting others to be flexible around you? The more questions to which you answered yes is the more likely that you're an energy vampire at times. So keep your third eye. We know what this means if you listen to my chakra episodes. Keeping your third eye on yourself and learning to acquire energy in a healthy way. Now, again, this is not for us to start to use as judging people. It's not for us to start finger pointing to people. It's not for us to be like, oh my gosh, I need to change everything I do and how I operate in life. This is more so, again, just to have some awareness around this. And If you're wondering what motivates an energy vampire, she highlights 4 things in the book. She mentions attention-seeking behavior, power and control, revenge, and then helplessness and inadequacy. So it could be for a number of reasons that somebody might fall into more of these, again, like this energy sucking type of people. Also, if I was just going through this checklist and you were brave enough to even say yes to some of these on this list that I just went through, kudos to you and congratulations to you for taking that ownership and, again, stepping up, not being the person that's in denial, not being the person that, oh no, I can do no wrong, I do no wrong. Like, good for you for even saying yes. If, again, one of those in the list, was a yes for you. And if you were a no to all of them, I might I might urge you to look a little bit deeper on that, because, again, we are all human and we all make mistakes and we all show up differently based on who the people that we are around are, if that makes sense. All right, so let me jump into some of these type of energy vampires with you. There are many, 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 many kinds. So, and again, these might apply to you, and it could, again, just be sometimes. It's not saying that you're always an energy vampire, but sometimes there's things going on in our life where we might start to fall into some of these. So the first type is the emotional blackmailer. So this person actually might be a little bit hard to spot out at first, because generally they are a very kind person. They're somebody that is very generous. Like, every time you see them, they're bringing you a present or they're buying you a treat. They're insisting on paying the bill, even when you've agreed to split it. They hang on your every word and they're giving you all of their attention. They're constantly telling you how fabulous you are. Right. So thinking through this, you might think, wow, that's awesome. Right. Like, I would love to have a friend like that in my life, but really you need to watch out. Although it might appear that this person is giving you this unconditional love, you might start to begin to realize that it's actually not very unconditional at all. You might start to feel like you're kind of caught in this trap, because really there's this invisible price tag that's attached to everything that they're offering. So soon the emotional blackmailer is going to start demanding like their way towards you. Soon the emotional blackmailer will start to be demanding towards you and kind of invading your personal boundaries and treating your persona as their own. And then you're going to want to feel like you want to back off, but then that guilt is setting in with you every time you think about doing it because of how generous they've been. So what's really happening here? Although this emotional blackmailer is coming off as sincere, and they've showered you with gifts and compliments in order to give themselves permission to undermine your boundaries. They often behave in this way because of a difficult childhood. They may have grown up believing that no one will love or want them for themselves, so they have this need to offer incentives and rewards for being with them and for being around them. They may have even come from an abandonment scenario in their childhood. They, again, might feel that they're unworthy of love. They might think that they're getting in the way of other people, and so they feel often like they have to buy people's affection. And this type of energy vampires attaches to us through our emotional layer of the aura. All right, the next one kind of sounds a little bit similar, but the next one is the flatterer. So this person, this energy vampire, likes to penetrate your space by endlessly flattering you. They will say things like, I respect you so much, or I have such a deep love for you. And of course, it's easy for us to get caught up in this trap because, again, we love hearing these compliments. And it's such a huge boost to someone's confidence to hear nice things about themselves. So, unfortunately, there's a catch with this. These compliments are not genuine and heartfelt. When you dig deep enough, you'll discover that this flattery is really based on this flatterer's envy of your success or your happiness, or simply even just the type of life that you lead. They may hate you. They may want to stay in a close proximity to you so that they can draw energetic nourishment from you. And unless you change this dynamic between you, this is how it's going to stay. So here's the thing. Once you experience personal difficulties such as getting sick, losing money, loss of success, or loss of job title, anything like that, the flatterer is going to be the first person that's going to abandon you. And they'll show no remorse. They'll cut you out of their life. They might even become your enemy and they'll start criticizing you behind your back. One way to point out if you have somebody in your life that you feel like might fall into this category is to ask them a question and see consistently if they're always giving you some sort of flattering response. Because when it comes down to it, a true friend, when they're asked, they're going to give you their honest opinion, even when it's not something that you want to hear. All right, your next type of energy vampire is the manipulator. Now, I feel like this one is pretty self-explanatory. I think we all can think of people that are in our lives that are manipulative to us, but it's not always the easiest for us to be able to identify them. This is another person that can be incredibly charming and charismatic, and they're always very compassionate and attentive too. The manipulator is going to tell you that they care about you. They're always going to be looking for ways to be useful to you. If you need a lift, you only have to ask. If you're having a bad time, they're going to dash around with you. They're going to be that person that's going to cheer you up. But then they become too involved in your life. They'll start to take over. They're going to look for problems and telling you what to do about them. For instance, the manipulator could be an over-involved mother or a father who becomes so caught up in her children's lives that she tries to control their relationships by sowing seeds of doubt about their partners. It can also be a friend who appears to be so caring and helpful, but they really just want to create drama in your life by making you suspicious of your partner's motives or fidelity. The manipulator can even be your boss, playing the game of being awestruck by your talents and always telling you how fantastic you are, and then getting you to do a lot of extra work for them. They'll wear the mask of someone who appreciates and values your qualities, but uses compliments and praise to manipulate you into giving them your energy. This vampire can be quite ruthless in the way that they operate. So please, please, please have an open eye for people that may be manipulative to you in your life. The next type is the green-eyed monster, and this is somebody who desperately wishes that they were as happy, positive, and healthy as you are. They're going to judge you harshly if you possess any of the radiant qualities that they would like to have, and they're going to make you feel bad about them. Perhaps comments like that kind of seem okay on the surface, but on that closer analysis, they contain jabs. It's really this form of jealousy, this green-eyed monster. They feel like they're always failing to be the person that they'd like to be, and so they do their best to bring you down to their level, and it's bullshit. Right? It is bullshit. Often this is the person that might razz you kind of with alcohol to make you drunk, like always saying like, "Oh, why aren't you drinking?" or "You should be drinking more. You need to drink to have a good time. You need to stay up late. You need to come to this party. You need to do this thing," right? Despite knowing that you actually like to go to bed early and maybe don't really like to drink that much. Once you've regressed to their level, it will give them an energy boost. So once you give in, once you say yes, that is like cha-ching to them. All right, the next type is the paranoid vampire. This person is oversensitive and loves to produce a drama out of nothing. And this one, I don't think I need to go into too much detail about. This is going to be, again, somebody that is incredibly rigid. If others don't abide by their code of behavior, they're going to become very upset and wary of them. When you perhaps make a mistake and apologize for it in a genuine way, the paranoid vampire is never going to forget you. They're always going to manage to remind you of it. And if you upset them, they are never going to trust you again. They'll try to twist reality to support their idea of what you really like. They're going to find a way to manipulate situations so that they can justify their negativity and their paranoid opinion of you. It is honestly exhausting to be on the receiving end of a paranoid vampire's behavior because they'll make you doubt yourself and mistrust your own energy space. Yeah. And no, thank you. No, thank you. All right, you have the fair weather vampire. And so if you're going through a good phase, you have something to celebrate, the fair weather vampire, they're probably going to be right there by your side. You'll have this impression that they really like you and that they enjoy your company and that you actually probably like being with them too. But at the first sign of trouble, when you hit a difficult emotional phase, perhaps or even become unwell, they disappear. They won't get in touch, they won't return your calls or your emails, and will seemingly have vanished basically in your life. You can enjoy being with this person, but certainly don't expect them to be something that they aren't. And don't invest in them at a deep level because they're never going to meet you where you're at. You'll only end up being used as a prop for their emotional energy. All right, the next type is the peacock. This one is kind of fun to me. The peacocks are the people that are completely wrapped up in themselves. They can't stop showing off to you about their achievements and letting you know how incredible they are. Networking is second nature to them and often done in quite ruthless way, and they could easily make use of your contacts too. Eventually, you might realize that they are simply using you as a mirror in which you can admire their own reflection. So, yeah, these people generally aren't interested in you. They're all about their own admiration and being seen for themselves. All right, your next type. This one is a dynamic that is normally played out between a mother and a child. This energy vampire is known as the smother love. So, earlier in this book, it talks about the chakra system of both a mother and her child. And it is said that the mother's base chakra is connected to her baby's base chakra. But once that umbilical cord is cut after birth, the mother is still connected to her baby through an energetic cord that runs between their navel chakras. This energetic connection lasts between 9 and 10 years, and then the child starts to become independent and energetically separate. However, if the mother has gone through some sort of trauma that has made her needy, possessive, and controlling, she won't allow the separation to take place. Instead, she'll swamp her child with a suffocating form of love. And I'm reading that, I quoted that directly from the book here so that I didn't mess any of that up for you. This also happens if the mother is longing for companionship but doesn't find it because her partner is unavailable, perhaps, or because she's single. As a result, she never gets a chance to find a new partner, and the child, too, doesn't form the personal space in which to develop a successful romantic partnership or even healthy friendships. Even as an adult, the child will feel as they are always sharing their mother's energy field. All right, next type we have is the temporary energy vampire. So sometimes being an energy vampire is only for that temporary state. Like I said, it's not something that we're generally always in. But one of the most common ways for this to happen is when someone is sick. They start to feel sorry for themselves, moaning or making a big fuss about how unwell they feel. And when you ask them about how they are, they exaggerate their symptoms to get your sympathy. And I need to say, this is certainly me. I was sick a little bit earlier this month, and I can say I 1000% fall into this. When I'm not feeling good, I am just like, woe is me, take care of me, feel sorry for me, love me, ask how I am, bring me soup. Like, 1000% that is me. I will own this energy vampire for sure. Luckily, it is temporary. And I will say, I am someone that sometimes it's a little bit hard for me to snap out of this. You know, when I'm down and ill, and if you read my birthday email that went out a few weeks ago, my birthday reflections email, you saw I was having a rough time earlier this month after getting sick. I was not in a good mental state. I was not practicing good behaviors, eating bad, not working out, just binging TV and sleeping more. It was not good. And sometimes we get into a comfy state of that, right? And I'm still kind of coming out of that a little bit, even weeks later. You know, like I also blame TV because it's a terrible time of year. All of my shows came back on the at the same time. And so it's like every day I watch, my toxic trait is the amount of TV that I watch. And I'm like, ooh, okay, so I got to watch this episode. I got to watch this episode. I got to catch up on this. I got to watch this. And it's almost like a notification on your phone every time I log into Hulu or Netflix or something. It's like, oh, you got a new episode to watch, you know? So, anyways, wanted to share that and again, take ownership for myself in here. And that rolls us into the next energy vampire, which is the full-on chatterbox, which I feel like I just was maybe for a minute. But essentially, this is the person that never stops talking. They're always chatting about anything and everything, but it's not a conversation because they aren't talking to you. They're talking at you. So they ignore anything when you are trying to come into the conversation. You know when they call you that this is going to be a never-ending conversation. It's yeah. Sometimes this is a friend who goes through another never ending string of drama. So there's always something that's going to dominate their conversation and demands all of your attention. The next one is the gray mouse. And when you first meet a gray mouse, you never imagine that this meek and mild person is an energy vampire. These are the people that often speak so softly and quietly that you have to strain your ears to hear them. And that's how they get your attention. Once they have it, you begin to realize that they're always melancholy and there's always something wrong. You'll never see a gray mouse laughing hard or smiling sincerely because they're far too miserable for that. And soon you'll start to feel miserable when you're around them because their energy is going to be sucking into you like a vampire, right? They're biting into you and they're giving you their gray mouse venom. So watch out for that type of energy vampire. All right, the firework is the next type. When you're around this person, it's like walking on a tightrope because they could basically lose their temper at any given moment. They're so fiery and short tempered and so quick to ignite that you feel scared when you're with them and make yourself smaller inside so that you won't provoke them. Ugh, this one is certainly triggering for me to be reading about, thinking about people in my life that I'm either currently close to or people in my life of the past that have demonstrated some abusive behaviors towards me. So the firework is also prone to competitiveness and they don't want anyone else to really win around them. It's a sign that they feel superior to everyone else. This person will always choose war over peace in both actions and words. They like to create conflict and will always believe that they are in the right and everyone else is wrong or guilty. All right, just two more here to go through. The next type we have is the bully. And the bully is very similar to the firework that we just went over, but they also want to belittle you. They want to do this by pressing your buttons. They like to single out a person, often because they are different in some ways, but then they are cruel to them, picking up on their insecurities or physical imperfections. The person who is being bullied will keep reacting, which is what gives the bully their energy fix. Someone who is energetically strong will never rely on another person for their fix, which means the bully is, by definition, the energetically weak person. I can think of people from our past that fell into this type of category as well that we no longer have in our lives. So, and I lied. The bully was actually the last energy vampire type here that I wanted to go over. So, again, this book is called Own Your Energy. If anybody was wanting to listen to it or read it, I have, again, both the physical copy and I listened to it on Audible. It's very, very good, especially for people that are wanting to get in and learn more about their energy system. So if you yourself are wanting to avoid being an energy vampire, again, because we've all been there, if it was a bad day, you're going home, taking your frustration out on your partner, maybe your kids, like we've felt this before. So it's really important for you to start thinking about your state of energy before you make contact with others, whether you're doing this face to face or on the phone, online, or really in any other way. As an entrepreneur, I can oh God, relate to this so much when I'm getting ready to make an Instagram post or create reels or launch a new program or get on a coaching call with a client. I have to make sure that I am in the right energy. Otherwise, that thing that I'm putting out or how I'm showing up in that space is not going to come off in the correct way. So I love to do practices with myself. I kind of, for coaching calls and things like that, or even launches, I like to create a little dance party for myself. I did add a trampoline to my Amazon wish list, like one of those little mini trampolines. I definitely want to get one of those for my office so I can just jump around a little bit. I think that would be such like a quick hit of good, fun energy and movement. Anyways, I also have my crystals. You see I sage a lot. And so meditation, breath work, all of these things are ways that I get in a good energy space before I am entering other people's energy space, essentially. So really, protecting my own energy, that's another piece of this, is when I start to notice these energy draining, sucking sort of situations, I got really good at saying no. I'm also an Enneagram 8, so that comes much easier for me versus my sweet husband who is an Enneagram 9, the peacekeeper. Saying no is definitely harder for him, but I get to be that person for us, and I get to be that person that is firm in our actions and saying like, hey, we gotta go. Like, this is too much. This is too much for me. I can see this is affecting you. This is not a good situation. This is maybe not a good vibe for us to be around right now, or for me to be around right now. And that's okay. And we've learned to trust each other when those moments happen. And that certainly took some practice, especially for me being an empath and just really being a person that can read energy quite well. There would be times that we would be out places, in public or at parties, or, even out to dinner at times, like, and I cannot explain it, but I would just say to him like, hey, it's time to go. Like, I can't explain it, but there's something is off here. And almost every single time when that has happened to me, something has happened either later that night, a fight, a fire, just something, right? Like, it's wild how that happens. So really, again, working to stabilize your energy and giving yourself healthy outlets to be able to vent if you need to, but also cleansing your aura. So I hoped you liked this fun little episode. Oh my gosh, I'm looking out my window in my office right now, and there's a squirrel on the power line that's right outside my window. That has to happen at least 5 times a day, I swear. And you hear the funny joke when people are talking, they get distracted and they're like, squirrel. Like, that legit happens to me. Sometimes it's a hummingbird. I much prefer the hummingbirds. Hummingbirds are my spirit animals, but it's a little bit too cold for them now. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this episode today. Again, this kind of fun spin for this Halloween episode, talking about energy vampires, but also in such a helpful way, again, for you to be able to identify these things for yourself and also pick up on them if they are happening from people around you. So, happy Halloween, my friends. Happy November if you're listening to this a little bit late, or whatever month it is. Thank you for being here. Of course, if you love the show, I'd love for you to share on social media and tag me so that I can see it. And also, if you want to leave a review, that is also helpful as well for when people are searching for a good podcast to listen to. So thank you so much, and I will see you all next week. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you loved it, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a thing. And if you loved it so fucking much, be sure to leave a 5-star review. I'll see you next week, and until then, keep owning your sexual self.